Set in an uncertain year of the 1820s, the initial scene shows Hugh Glass addressing his child Hawk in an Indian language, letting him know that despite the fact that he is frightened and maintains that his difficulty should be finished, he should battle as long as he can snatch a breath. As we hear Glass' voice, we see pictures of Glass with his Pawnee spouse and child, his house being set ablaze, and him embracing his better half. Glass and Hawk are strolling through a waterway with different men from their hunting party as they tail elk. They are set up camp by a stream in provincial Missouri with other fur catchers. They are driven by their skipper, Andrew Henry. A stripped missing man from their party strolls into the settlement and implodes forward with a bolt in his back. One more man is shot in the neck with a bolt and falls into the pit fire. The hunting party is gone after by a clan of neighborhood locals who are Arikara Indians, otherwise called Ree. The men shoot back with their rifles. Glass is gone after and almost stifled to death. Yet one of his men salvages him. A couple of men accumulate their furs and materials toward a boat to make their departure. The actual Arikaras are searching for the Central's girl, Powaka, taken by obscure white men. The men forsake their boat and begin to climb overland to Fort Kiowa. Sel is estranged by John Fitzgerald for his race. Hawk is half Indian on his mom's side. However, Glass rapidly guards his child and tells him not to fight back against Fitzgerald. While hunting in the forest, Glass goes over a mountain bear and her offspring, and he is immediately gone after by the bigger bear. The bear paws and chomps Glass, tossing him around as Glass attempts to protect himself. He figures out how to shoot the bear, yet it doesn't kill her. Once more, she goes after and Glass gets his blade, wounding it a few times as the two of them tumble down a slope. Glass lands in a ravine and the dead bear lands on top of him. The men later track down Glass and attempt to watch out for his profound injuries. In the interim, the Arikara fighters proceed with their quest for Powaka. They run over French fur brokers and exchange the riverside furs for 5 ponies. The men in the hunting party convey Glass on an improvised cot, however he just dials them back. They endeavor to convey him up a slope, just for him to slide and cut different men down. Fitzgerald recommends they need to simply kill Glass and finally let him alone to get some closure. Henry covers Glass' eyes and nearly shoots him in the head, however he can't force himself to make it happen. Henry offers installment of $75 to any individual who will remain behind with Glass. Sel and Jim Bridger volunteer, however Fitzgerald calls attention to that they and Glass will probably bite the dust. Henry raises the installment proposition to $100 so that even Fitzgerald chooses to remain with them until Glass terminates. Glass is still in extraordinary agony and keeps on having dreams of his significant other and the day his house was burned to the ground. Fitzgerald gets a second alone with Glass and attempts to persuade him to allow him to finally give him some closure so no other person is dialed back or passed on holding on to kick the bucket, including Hawk. As Glass can't talk, Fitzgerald proposes Glass ought to squint on the off chance that he concurs, realizing that Glass would ultimately need to flicker, regardless of gold, to consent to Fitzgerald's deal. Glass holds his eyes open for quite a while prior to shutting them, rather than flickering. Fitzgerald purposefully deciphers this as squinting and begins to cover Glass. Petal appears, seeing Fitzgerald covering his dad. Petal begins to call Bridger for help, prompting a battle with Fitzgerald in which the man wounds Hawk in the midsection, then allowing him to drain out as Glass observes vulnerably. Fitzgerald disposes of Hawk's body and tells Bridger he doesn't have the foggiest idea where he went. Sometime thereafter, Fitzgerald inclinations Bridger to continue on with him, professing to have seen Ree Indians by the brook. Previously having dug a grave for Glass, Fitzgerald powerfully hauls him into the opening and somewhat covers him alive under a heap of soil as Bridger hesitantly allows him to do as such. In the interim, Henry and the remainder of the hunting party have a troublesome walk by as they head towards Fort Kiowa. As Fitzgerald and Bridger head to meet them, Bridger acknowledges Fitzgerald was lying about having seen the Ree by the spring. He turns his rifle on Fitzgerald, who takes it from Bridger and turns it on him. He pulls the trigger, however the dumped rifle taps on a vacant chamber. They keep on moving. Glass stirs and feebly battles to ascend from out of the soil. He begins creeping his direction through the forest to track down food and warmth. He finds Hawk's body freezing up from the virus. Glass commits to remain by his child's side. He finds a thick bear pelt to take with him to keep warm. As he keeps on traveling through the forest, he benefits from roots and old bone marrow. He endeavors to fabricate a discharge for added warmth and uses a portion of his extra explosive to seal the injury in his throat. Close by, the Indians are drawing nearer, so Glass rides down the rapids to get away from them. Fitzgerald and Bridger are as yet strolling. They go over a torched settlement with bodies spread across the ground. One lady rises up out of her consumed cottage and sees the men. Bridger discreetly leaves some nourishment for her. Glass is getting colder and hungrier. He strolls into the stream and eats a live fish. He strolls up a slope and sees a Pawnee Indian taking care of off the corpse of a buffalo. Glass approaches him warily and motions for food. The Indian tosses him an organ, which Glass eats greedily. In the first part of the day, the Indian notices the bare wounds on Glass' body, which are beginning to decay. Glass says his men left him for dead and murdered his child. The Indian expresses that his own family was killed by an opponent Sioux clan. He is searching out more Pawnee. Fitzgerald and Bridger arrive at the station and rejoin their party. Fitzgerald lets Henry know that they couldn't save Glass or Hawk, and he gathers his installment. Bridger stays calm yet is upset and declines a reward pay. Glass and the Indian push ahead. They go through the night sitting and getting snow in their mouths. Whenever Glass first has looked quiet in some time. The Indian accumulates materials for a speedy perspiration cabin and places a hot glass inside. Glass begins hearing his better half's voice, and afterward sees himself strolling toward Hawk before they embrace in an old church. The Pawnee plays out a recuperating custom for Glass injuries. At the point when Glass awakens, the Pawnee is no more. A brief time frame later he sees that the Indian has been hanged by the French fur catchers. He penetrates their camp and witnesses one of the men assaulting a lady. It is Powaka, Mala Nakeko. Glass holds the attacker at gunpoint and liberates Powaka. Glass then, at that point, takes a pony, setting different ponies free. He rides to a spot in the forest where he fabricates himself a fire. In the first part of the day, the clan looking for Powaka begins to assault. Glass holds them off with his rifle before he mounts his pony and rides away. The clan follows him on their ponies up to a bluff where Glass and his pony fall past the brink. The pony passes on, and Glass is harmed once more. As the dusks and the virus escalates, he cuts the pony open, eliminates its organs, and bunks inside its remains for warmth. At the point when he awakens, he escapes the remains and moves to a snow cave. In there, he cuts, "Fitzgerald murdered my child." At some point later at the station, one of the French trackers shows up with Glass' flask, which Bridger left on the soil heap after Fitzgerald covered him. Thinking he took it from Hawk, Henry drives a pursuit party through the forest. There, they track down Glass, limping towards them. They take him back to the station. Henry observes that Fitzgerald is no more. The French tracker lets him know that he heard Fitzgerald was gone to Texas. What's more is that Fitzgerald cleared out the party's finance safe. Henry then, at that point, defies Bridger with his rifle and beats the young fellow to the ground and places him in the barricade. Glass vouches for Bridger's guiltlessness to Henry, expressing that he was just following requests. He likewise lets Henry know how he saw Fitzgerald murder his child. Hearing that Fitzgerald is setting out toward Texas, Glass demands that he search the man out himself. Henry hesitantly consents to have Glass go along with him in the chase. The two experience Fitzgerald and split up to get him from inverse sides. Henry tracks down Fitzgerald first and plans to take him back to be gone after for homicide. The two men take out their weapons on one another, with Fitzgerald killing Henry. Glass finds Henry's body and returns him on top of his pony involving a branch as a prop. They ride on considering Fitzgerald, who shoot his rifle from a good ways. He believes he's killed Glass, however he just shot Henry's body. Glass has a chance off and wounds Fitzgerald, who runs while Glass seeks after. They corner each other in the forest, and Fitzgerald takes shots at Glass. Fitzgerald shows down to the rivulet where Glass finds him and they start to battle. Fitzgerald almost cuts Glass, yet Glass turns the blade on him. Fitzgerald pierces Glass' hand, yet Glass overwhelms him and almost polishes him off until Fitzgerald expresses that killing him will not bring his kid back. On the opposite side of the rivulet, Glass sees the Indians that have been chasing after him, presently with Powaka. He concludes that vengeance is in God's grasp, so he drives Fitzgerald into the water and allows him to drift over to the Indians. The Central snatches Fitzgerald and kills him with his blade. They spare Glass since Powaka lets them know that Glass liberated her. Yet again, despite the fact that he has pursued his retribution, Glass is separated from everyone else, meandering through the virus land. Yet again he cowers and sees a dream of his better half strolling into the light. The last shot is of Glass' eyes topping off with tears.